Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Exercise is Bullshit. I'm your host, Logan Emmett Hurley, and I'm joined today by my colleague, my boss, my friend, my mentor, Xavier Robinson joins us today from Reform Fitness. Xavier, why don't you say hello and give us just a little bit of background about yourself?
Hello, thank you for the great introduction. So many titles you gave me right there. But as Logan said, my name's Xavier. I'm founder of Reformed Fitness, and I like to say lead exercise physiologist at Reformed Fitness. Started Reformed Fitness in 2022. We do completely virtual one on one health coaching and personal training. I've been an exercise physiologist for going on a decade now. Since 2017, I've been an exercise physiologist and got my Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology from the University of Minnesota. So I've been in the exercise world for quite some time, since I was 18 years old, basically.
That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of sparked your interest in getting into fitness in the first place, and maybe it made you want to get your degree in exercise science from the Gophs?
That's a great question. So I actually went to the University of Minnesota, and as a freshman, I just went like for my generals, right? And I thought I wanted to be and go to nursing school there. That was my like thing I thought I was going to do as a freshman. As I started to, look at the classes the nursing school has to take, I just didn't really feel, and I started to look into the nursing like world more and realized there work life balance wasn't necessarily what I thought of. Plus the classes I didn't feel like I was interested in. So I was like, nursing's not the thing for me. So then I wanted to be PT, physical therapist, because I just love sports, and I've exercise has always been a part of my life as someone who's been doing sports as a young kid. So I was thinking PT was the realm I kind of wanted to go to. And then I started doing some shadowing of PTs and realized I don't really like what their day to day life is like very much. It doesn't seem exciting for what I want to do with my life. So then all of a sudden I was a junior at the University of Minnesota, and I was like, I don't want to be a PT. I don't know what to do. And so I didn't even know what kinesiology was, but I always was taking science classes. I loved science. I loved exercise. And then I started to look into some of the jobs that people can get with a kinesiology degree. And I found what an exercise physiologist was. And there's a lot of things exercise physiologists do that are different from what you and I do, but I decided like I would have been happy doing kind of a lot of different paths to the exercise physiologist. Thankfully, I kind of found the path I went on. But that's kind of the backstory of how I decided to get into the world of fitness.
That's awesome. And then what about you've kind of given us a little overview of what Reform Fitness is, but maybe before we dive a little bit deeper into what the company actually does, the founding, all of those things, what is kind of your 30-second elevator pitch for ideal clients and people that you might want to work with or might want to work with you?
Yeah, so like I said, Reform Fitness, we offer virtual one-on-one health coaching and personal training. So the ideal person that works for, the person that kind of needs that service, I guess, is someone who knows they should be exercising, maybe already does exercise, but feels like they're not getting the most out of their workouts. They're putting all this time and effort in, but they're not getting the result they need. And so they need that little bit of extra guidance, that little bit of extra push, both in their workouts and a little bit extra guidance outside their workouts that can kind of push them over the top. So, being virtual, we can work with people who are already in a gym, working out in a gym, and we can guide them and coach them through an even more productive workout. But we can also do workouts anywhere, literally anywhere. And so, it's perfect for someone who travels a lot for work, is in a lot of different places, has a hard time sticking to a workout routine because life changes so much. The virtual mode, I guess you could say, allows us to adapt with anyone, anywhere. So it's perfect for someone who's a busy professional, has a high demanding job, not a lot of time to work out, and is in a lot of different places for their workouts.
So on this show specifically, we like to have kind of a science-based mindset and evidence-based mindset, even though I've probably over the years sort of distanced myself a little bit more from like evidence-based training and science-based training, just because it's kind of become a douchey minefield, just in the online space. But with that mentality, I think it's important to, not be a victim of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Not feel like you know more than everyone else, not feel like you're ever done being a student. So with that kind of mindset in mind, what is something in the last 3 to 5 years that maybe you've taken a big 180 on? Because I know you do a lot of research. I know you really read research with your company, you read research personally, you're staying on top of the exercise science literature. So what's something you maybe believe dogmatically in the last 3 to 5 years that now you've kind of sort of had to change your tune based on mounting evidence to the contrary?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when it comes to like to me being truly evidence based is understanding what the literature suggests and says is true in like the perfect lab setting, and then also taking the 10 years of one-on-one training experience I have in working with real humans and trying to marry those two things of like, okay, what do I know about human behavior and like how real people actually work out, and what do I also know about how in a lab setting people can get the optimal results and trying to marry those two things. So that's kind of the lens I've switched to, where before it was what does the research say? I need to do exactly that. Now it's like, okay, what does the research say and then what's actually practical? And so to get a little bit more detailed with
Yeah,
that,
give me an example.
it's more being allowing split routines with my clients. That's something I would have never done myself, wouldn't have done before. Just knowing that you might get a little less calorie burn. I was always trying to optimize for maximizing calorie burn with a full body workout, optimize for efficiency. But there are a lot of clients, whether they're brand new and just can't handle the volume or the intensity of a full body workout, and it's actually kind of better for them to get into a split routine right away, or also, fighting through injuries and things like that. And then it's increasing their frequency, so it's not as efficient, which I would have never done myself. And now I actually find myself liking that because I feel like I can have my intensity be a little bit higher if I personally am doing a split routine. So I mix that in myself. Also, multiple sets. I was so loving the single set, the research around set, and um, loving the idea of the efficiency of that as well. But now realizing, trying to get a little bit more volume practically for a lot of people is actually really helpful, because ideally we're getting to muscle failure, but you and I know people fake failure. You don't actually get to failure, and they
Or
start
not even intentionally fake,
not
just don't
faking. Yeah,
actually
yeah.
know what it
I don't
is.
mean
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
maliciously
Yeah.
faking failure, right? Where they're like purposely trying to sabotage their own workouts, but like it's hard and like it
Yeah.
sucks. And so even for myself, just allowing myself to be like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 sets because uh it's just gonna be a better, more productive way to do this exercise than trying to hit true muscle failure on split squats or true muscle failure on something that you could actually fall and like hurt yourself if you hit true failure too. So I think there's a couple ways to do that. So there's a few things I've changed, but again, the overarching thing I've changed is how can we just understand what actually is happening in people's behavior and then what the research says, and trying to find something in the middle where I can just get the best result for the person in front of me.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And, you and I obviously have a similar background in the place that we started before where we met, and very dogmatic and kind of, zealots on a specific style of hit training, which I think is great and is beneficial. And obviously, from a business perspective, like really carving out a specific niche of like, this is all we do this one way. But I think as you grow as a personal trainer, and like you said, get practical, hands on experience with clients, you start to realize like hit is great. Not everybody can train to failure. So, like, how can we sneak in some extra volume? Because it's like if you're just doing one set of everything, but you're stopping 10 reps shy of failure on every exercise, which you and I have both had those clients. It's like, well, yeah, this is better than doing nothing, but are there other ways that we could be sneaking in a little more for this person to get them more bang for their buck? And I think
Yeah.
the split thing too is just something I've really, at first experimenting on my own. And then, because that's something I always did before I got into hit was like, oh yeah, you do back and buys and then you do chest and tries
Right.
kind of thing. But taking taken a giant step from back from that, training once or twice a week for 5 or 6 years, and then taking the knowledge that I had and applying that to a split routine. Instead of like, we're just going to hammer 20 sets of chest, it's like, no, let's do a few different movement patterns. If I'm going to do pushing one day, it's like, let's spread that volume around and still work with a really high level of intensity. So I think there's a good marriage that can be had between those two as
And the
well. So that's great.
practical thing with that too is a lot of people, exercise is great for mental health too. And a lot of people want to exercise 4 days a week for other reasons than just aesthetics or
A hundred
physical
percent.
reasons, right? And
Yeah.
so if someone's like, I like being in the gym a few days, 4 days a week. How can you do a workout routine with me and I can do that? And I think, coming from the dogmatic background that we had before, that would have been something we would have been like, we can't really work with that, or we would have convinced that person that that's not what they
Not to
want,
do it, which
right?
is so wild too, because like as a business owner, it's like I understand you have these practical things that you want to do, again, kind of carving out a niche for yourself, but it's like now we charge a decent amount of money. Before we were charging way more because there was overhead and stuff. It's like if somebody wants to pay you $1,500 a month to work out 4 days a week, like you should figure out a way to get them in. Like they're literally begging you to pay more, which is totally the opposite of most businesses. It's like they come in, they're like, what's the cheapest thing I can get? But just based on the style of clients that we tend to attract, people who really want to get results. But like you said, there's going to be a lot of type A's that like, hey, I just need to work out for my mental health. How can I apply these principles, but still come in here for maybe even five, very rarely five, right? Because if you're training 4 days a week on a split, like you're probably not going to want to do that fifth
But the
workout. But
fifth
if
could
they,
be a cardio. Like
yeah, it
we'll
could be
help with people with that.
cardio.
I think
Yeah, it
it's
could
at the end
be,
of the day, like, having that freedom to just be an exercise physiologist,
yeah, a
period.
hundred
How can I
percent.
how can I be this person's exercise physiologist? Like, they're coming to me to guide them through a blueprint of what healthy looks like, and how can you take what they think is what they need, and then what we know is what they need, and how can we find the best plan for that person in front of us. And that's really great. One thing that I also thought of that is something I'm continuously changing is how the thought of when I'm coaching someone and for myself, how are we potentially hindering someone's intensity by overcoaching rep quality, being too strict on pacing, exactly X pace, because that's what we're trying to coach them through. If we're coaching them through a negative only protocol and they're getting 9 seconds instead of 10, is it beneficial for us to be really strict on that last second, or should we just maybe make them do one or two extra reps and say, okay, he's not, I've tried to coach this to go slower and he's not doing it. All right, I'm just going to add an extra rep or two, modify in the moment of, all right, I'm not going to sacrifice intensity. I'm not going to sacrifice something that's really good right now for over coaching and expecting something. Just looking for safe. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it. We'll move on after this, but that's something I 100% have adjusted in my own training over the years as well. And even earlier on, when we were working together at the previous place, I probably had the worst quality of reps for my client. And they weren't bad reps, but it's like I would just let people find the like coach them, overcoach them. Once they like you realize like, hey, this person is never going to do perfect 2-4 reps, but their rep quality is significantly better than it was before. They still got smooth transitions. They're not risking injury. Let it ride, and then we'll figure out how to actually get that person to work more intensely. So that's something I've
Yep.
definitely adjusted
Yep.
over the years as well. So tell
100%.
me a little bit about Reform Fitness, because obviously you have an interesting story. We worked together, like we mentioned, for a long time at the same company, and then you eventually broke off and decided to do your own thing. So tell me
Yeah.
a little bit more, and we've already touched on a little bit about Reform Fitness. What do you do? What kind of services do you offer? And maybe what makes the company different than other online personal trainers and health coaches?
I think I'll answer some of those questions as I go and just like
Yeah,
give the backstory.
great.
So the idea for Reform Fitness started during COVID, during 2020, right? We were working in a gym just like all personal trainers were working in a gym at that time, or I would say 95 at least percent of the industry had a gym of some kind, whether that was a classic big box gym or a place where like you and I worked was more boutique style, smaller studio style gym. And that's where personal trainers worked, and that's where people went to work out. And then COVID happened and those places shut down. So we had to, as a whole company that we worked for, as a whole industry, we had to shift, right? We had to figure out how can we still bring value to people and how can we still help them work out and do this in a way that will be COVID compliant. And so that's where I think the whole industry kind of shift to the virtual model. And it was a lot of figuring out how is this going to go? What's this going to look like? How are we going to be able to execute these workouts? And you and I were working together at that time. I would say I was, and I don't want to speak for you, I was surprised how effective the workouts were, how we could still get to failure, how we could still coach and see people really well, coach different aspects of form extremely well, how we were able to design a full body workout with very minimal or no equipment. And I was also amazed, that we were shut down for months on end. People were more consistent when we're virtual than when they were in the gym. Now, part of that, of course, is people had more time on their hands during that time, and they were maybe a little bit more motivated to work out during that time. But the other aspect of it was how convenient the virtual aspect was. A lot of people were in different places at that time. They were working out at home. They were working out. They would go to a park. They would be visiting a friend or family, and they would be working out at that place as well. And so that's where the idea came for Reform Fitness. So I think that answers a little bit about what we do. That's what we do. We meet with people for workouts in a one on one setting on FaceTime, Zoom, Google Meet, and we take them through a full body workout using high intensity principles. So a lot of strength training. Then the other thing that we do as well is one on one health coaching. So same idea. We meet Google Meet, FaceTime, or Zoom, and we meet with them once a week, focused on the 5 habits that people need to improve their body fat percentage. So that's again for our clients who are more focused on improving body composition, losing fat, building muscle, not just I want to have great efficient workouts, but I want to really start to see some physical results, some aesthetic results coming from that. And it gives us an opportunity to really sit down with them and start to build that roadmap of what their habits need to look like and how they can do it in an efficient way. So
And
that's
what
terms
was
of
it
service.
about the health coaching piece? That was a great description. What was it about the health coaching piece that you felt was necessary or maybe was missing from your previous experience where you were purely just training clients? Why did that call
Great
out to you
question.
so much?
It's twofold. Number one, no exercise physiologist gets into this business to just help people go through workouts. We want to be in this business to impact people's lives, to make them healthier, make them truly reach their fitness goals, maybe for the first time in their life, maybe reach their fitness goal and stay that at their fitness goal for the first time in their life, right? There's a reason we're hired, and it's because someone has a gap between where they are and where they want to be in fitness. And as exercise physiologists, we got into this business to do that, bridge that gap, right? And anyone who's anywhere around exercise or nutrition or the health and wellness space knows that just workouts doesn't bridge that gap. It's only one piece of it. And so in the high intensity space, you're with someone for such a short amount of time, which is great because they have to spend less time on exercise, but it also is not good because you can't actually impact their life outside of the gym. You can't give them all the advice they need. You can't hold them accountable in a meaningful way during a 30-minute workout because you're coaching them through a workout. So, that's kind of the gap that we're trying to fill with the health coaching. Now, I'll be full disclosure. That was from our guy Jake. It was totally his idea. He came to me, pitched the idea of health coaching, and I was like, as long as we can find a way to make it efficient for our busy people, and we can make it evidence based, like which easy enough, then let's go all in and provide this service for our clients who are already needing this. They just never had an opportunity for it before.
So obviously you've worked with a lot of your clients for a long time virtually, maybe in person before. What have you noticed with the health coaching? Like, has it been a positive add-on for clients? Do you think that the value proposition is worth it for them? Tell me a little bit more about what your experience has been over the last couple of years of actually implementing that.
Yeah, as far as a value add, I mean, it's a no-brainer based on the results we've gotten. We've got a spreadsheet of everyone who's completed the health coaching, or everyone who's done health coaching with us. I shouldn't say completed, but anyone who's done health coaching with us, and the results they've gotten while they're health coaching with us. And no person has ever not improved their body composition that's actually gone and done health coaching with us and taken our advice. So, as far as the value it's added, I mean, that has been exponential for our clients. But I think the bigger thing is the value for our company that it adds, because again, we're allowing exercise physiologists, the people we're hiring, and our teammates to do work that they love and do meaningful work that really impacts the clients based on the results I just kind of was talking about. So, not to mention, it breaks up, just to be quite frank, it breaks up the monotony of just doing workouts over and over and over and over all week, every week. And you get to actually sit down with people and talk about different things that you don't talk about into a workout. So just from the practical standpoint of delivery, I think it's a huge value add to us. Not to mention, the extra revenue and all of those things that come with it.
So getting back to kind of the journey of branching off and starting the company, what happened after COVID? What made you want to leave? Because obviously you were pretty high up in the company that you were working with, and then what was the decision like? Hey, I'm not getting what I want here. I want to go do this thing on my own. And then maybe what was that learning process like as far as like at 26 or 27 or whatever you were, 28 when you started this thing, like to be like, oh my God, I'm doing my own thing. I'm starting my own company. Kind of walk me through that
Yeah.
learning curve.
Yeah. So when we were working at the last company, my aspirations in in my career, regardless of where I worked, was I really liked, as I was an exercise physiologist, and like you said, was able to work my way through the company. I really liked the business aspect of the fitness industry, along with the getting to work with the end user, getting to see clients. But I really liked the idea of building and growing the business. We were lucky enough to work for a company that was growing, and we were a part of that growth. And I just really loved that aspect of it and loved learning all that aspect. So essentially, at the last company I worked for, the only place that I could go up was to be like on the executive team. That was the only place to go. And so um, I thought a way to do that would be to bring the virtual space and really expand it within that company. But really, their vision was to push forward a franchise model. So it just didn't fit the vision going forward. So I actually left that company looking for a leadership role within a business that was growing in the fitness industry. And if it wasn't going to be in the fitness industry, I thought I could get some experience in that type of role in a different industry and then find that opportunity in fitness. So I actually left, and I actually um, worked at Canterbury. I'm trying to remember Canterbury Park, I think it's called, like it's like a horse track and like
Yeah,
cards and gambling place.
yeah,
And I worked like in
sounds
the
appropriate.
customer. I work, right. I worked in their customer service side of things, though, like on the leadership path there, a much bigger company than the one we worked for. And I only worked there for a few weeks because on the side I was like, well, I'll train some clients. This is like a monetizable skill that I always have. I can do it virtually. We were already doing that. I love training clients. I had some friends and family that wanted to train with me. So I was like, okay, I'll just have this on the side, doing kind of both things at once. And it literally was like 2 or 3 weeks. I had three clients my first week. It was like my godmother, my aunt, and my mom. And then I got a couple referrals there. And then I posted a post on my personal Facebook, and I just said, hey, I'm training people virtually. If anyone has ever wanted to do a workout with me and hasn't had the opportunity, you can now work out with me anywhere at any time. Like this post, or comment if you're interested. And I had like 60 likes on that post and like 15 comments. And then I just reached out to all of those people in conjunction with a few referrals from those first three clients, along with that post of like people who are already in my network. And luckily, everyone who knows me knows I love exercise. They know I'm really passionate about what I do for work. They had probably already known I was an exercise physiologist before. So when I posted that on my Facebook, I got a lot of, good reception from that. And so that was kind of like where it just took off. And I just kept adding clients. And all of a sudden I was like, all right, I certainly don't need another full-time job at Canterbury. I quit that. Like I said, I think it was my third week. I was just like finishing my onboard. I kind of felt bad, but at the same time, I was like, well, and then I actually then still got a little side job as a server. I was working 2 or 3 days a week in the nights and the weekends just to make sure I was going to be able to make it. But Reform Fitness grew ever since then, and just added more clients every single month, every single week, and just been blessed that we have great retention. Our clients, when they start working with us, they stay with us, and I think that's just a testament to the relationships that we're able to build, and then the value we're able to provide as well, of course.
So as far as, striking off on your own and becoming an entrepreneur, obviously there's so many podcasts, there's books about all of that stuff, but as somebody who's practically done it, what are some of the best lessons you've learned in the process? Maybe some things that you were like, "Oh my gosh, I crushed that. I would do that every single time. I would tell people to do that." And maybe a few things that you were like, "If I could do that differently, I certainly would."
So let me start with the second part first, things I would have not done, because I think there's so many things I've learned or would do again, or like advice I would give. But as far as something I wouldn't do, number one, I wanted to push my career forward in any way possible a whole year before I actually did. I actually quit the last company I worked for twice, and they convinced me to stay the first time. And I regret that completely, because I did learn a lot in that extra year that I stayed, but I didn't learn so much that it was the make or break between
Was
what
that
I
the
do
company we
now.
worked for? I didn't realize
Yes,
you had quit before. Okay.
for twice. Um, yeah, and the first time they just, convinced me to stay for whatever reason. And yeah, I wish I would have just trusted myself the first time. So for anyone who's like thought of, doing that, scary and it's hard, and you can be convinced to make a different decision. But and again, I wasn't quitting just to be an entrepreneur. I was quitting it by any means to push my career forward, right? And so for anyone who's doing has that same thought, whether you're wanting to be an entrepreneur or just push your career forward, like, don't be afraid to take that leap sooner than later. Like, when you're ready for it. So that would be my number one. Number two, I when you're a business owner, you get a lot of solicitation from other businesses who are trying to sell you stuff. And it always sounds great. And it sounds like they're going to be able to help you. A lot of times, especially when you start, you don't need to spend any money on anything. You just need to hone your skills. You need to get better at the things that you're doing on a daily and weekly basis, and you need to do them repetitively over and over and over. And you get better and better and better at all of those skills of whatever you're trying to do, and no amount of money or like other people that you could have work with you is going to help. You need to suck at it first and then just get better. So there's like some purchases I guess I should make, or like some um consultants I guess I maybe hired at the beginning that I was like, I didn't need that, and it was a waste of money. Don't spend money, spend time honing your skills at the beginning. So those are the two things I would have done differently or changed. As
And I
far
think
as
that's
like,
probably, before
yeah,
you talk about the
go
other
ahead.
thing, just like so tempting for people who are going off on their own because it's so daunting. So it's like, oh my gosh, if I can get a leg up in any way, shape, or form. But I think there's a lot of value in what you just said there too, of like, screw up first, try stuff, take some free lessons, do all those things for marketing, whatever it is, since you're investing your own time in the company anyways. And then once you actually have some revenue and some dispensable income, but like you said, don't leverage your, food that week on
It's not
a
only
Facebook
that,
marketing campaign.
and that's the big part of it, of course, is like you don't have a lot of revenue to spend anyways at the beginning. But the other thing is like, it's hard now knowing then like these consultants or like contractors I was hiring to do like little things for me as well. Like the amount of direction I could give now that I've done a lot of this stuff myself versus the direction I was able to give them then, night and day different. Like, because you can't even instruct someone else what you want or need from them
Because you
because you
don't know
don't
it yet.
even know what you
Yeah.
want or need from them because you've never done it. So, like, yeah, to get more specific things that are like marketing or, building a back end side of things, so like the websites and stuff and all of that, I do that myself and I learned how to do that myself. And I'm so thankful because now if we need something changed on the website, I can do it in 2 seconds. I don't need to ask someone else to do it. But if I do eventually do ask someone to do it, I can say, this is exactly how I want it to be done. And here's exactly how you do it. I can teach them.
Yeah. That's great.
So I think the other part of your question was what are some
Some things you hit out of the park that you did
cool
really well,
things?
maybe being lucky or just good, whatever it might be.
I think the number one thing I hit out of the park is realizing that warm leads in our business are key. So people who already know, like, and trust you. In order for someone to buy from you, they have to know, like, or trust you. So that post I made on Facebook, I didn't really know exactly what that was yet, but I was tapping into my warm audience, people who already know, like, and trusted me in the space, and not being afraid to leverage that. And I should have even done more reach outs when it came to that. But now, as I coach new exercise physiologists, people who are trying to start kind of on their own, just like I did. That's the number one thing I really hone in on and focus on. That's something I hit out of the park without knowing it. And then something I hit out of the park with knowing it is, like I said, is I think the biggest thing between me and maybe someone else that we used to work with who could have done the same thing or would have done the same thing. I think number one, just like unwavering like confidence that even if I messed up, I would still land on my feet. I would still do something good. And so just like I had a lot of confidence in myself, but I also just like I put the time in to do things I was bad at first. And I've listened to a lot of entrepreneur podcasts, business podcasts. I had like some workbooks where you like work through business plans and stuff. I read a lot at the beginning, and I still read, but I was had a lot more time on my hands. I was learning a lot more. So I would say that was something I nailed out of the park as well.
That's great. So, what was your vision when you first kind of started the company? You saw yourself picking up some clients, and then maybe how has that shifted over the years? Maybe starting with, like, obviously Jake, you mentioned doing the health coaching. How has that vision started and then kind of shifted as you've grown the company?
It's funny because I think the vision has mostly stayed the same from the start, with like some things added onto the vision. But when I first started Reform Fitness, I didn't name it Xavier Robinson Personal Training because I didn't want it to always just be me. I went forward with the idea that even if it was always just me working for myself as my client base grew, I would be okay with that. That would still be a really fulfilling thing to build and life to live, I thought, as if I just had clients for myself. But while I was doing that, I wanted to build a platform that people like me could just use the same exact platform that I'm building. And that's why I called it Reform Fitness. That's why I did not make it just Xavier Robinson Personal Training. And I wanted to simultaneously build up my client base, but build a replicable formula for other exercise physiologists. So the vision has always been to build a business where other exercise physiologists can do exactly what I do the work they love on a schedule they love, where they're getting compensated fairly and they can have a unmatched work-life balance. And I wanted that for myself because I believe exercise physiologists are integral to people's health and should be viewed in that higher realm of the healthcare community, like a physical therapist. So I want to create that platform, and so that was always the vision. That's still the vision. That's still what it is brings me passion. What I want to build every day is a great place for exercise physiologists to work for. And so what's changed is we added the health coaching service, and that's the big change. Like that's it. The other stuff has all kind of just maybe gotten more and more clear within the vision of how we're going to make that happen, but the what has always been the same.
That's awesome. So as far as like the long, I want to talk about the future a little bit, and then maybe dial into some of the details of how other entrepreneurs or people who are thinking about entrepreneurs can maybe get there. So, what are some of your long-term goals for Reform Fitness, and then how is that process kind of going so far? Like, how much has the company grown year to year? How does that compare to maybe other companies in the space as far as growth goes? Anything like that?
Yeah, so as far as growth, we're super blessed. My first year, so I was 2 years just by myself before you and Jake came on about the same exact time in March of 2024. So between uh, 2022 and 2024, it was just me. My first year, which is like a half a year, 9 months, trying to remember exactly offhand. I think it was around 35, 40,000 in revenue that first year. So pretty solid. I didn't even expect to, I wasn't really trying to grow that much for the first part. And then I was trying to grow at the end of that year. And then my first full year, just me, there was 1 year where it was just me, right around the 90,000 mark. So about doubled from year over year when it was just myself. And then obviously when you and Jake came on that year, we grew up exponentially. I think it was close to I don't remember that year offhand, but I know after it was us three plus Amy, it was like 270, and now we're near 500 last year. So we've grown quite a bit, obviously, every single year as far as growth goes. How does that compare to other businesses? That's a good question. As far as growth, I think that it outpaces a lot of businesses in our industry. I think gyms in general do grow quick right away and then kind of stay stagnant. So for us, I'll go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember when we were at our old company together, I think the number was, and I could just be making this up, but something like, what was it called? Like a unicorn industry or something where you grow like it's 3 years or more. I think it was over 20% growth or something. So you're definitely exceeding that.
Right.
2x
Well,
every year
I
is,
always
is
I
pretty
always
good.
kind of give the we are and we are, and I always think like there's kind of a caveat because it was just me, and it's
Yeah,
easy
for
easy
sure.
to grow when it's just
Yeah, for sure.
So we're growing from very small to now. Now we're just kind of getting our feet wet. So I like to think yes, we've done very well, and I'm very thankful. But I'm always like we're just getting started. Like this year, we're
Yeah.
finally just getting started.
Yeah.
And like last year, I felt the same way. We're finally just getting started. I'm sure next year we'll be like, okay, we're finally just getting started. So, but for us, like the way we grow and the vision is to grow to 30 exercise physiologists on our team. I don't want to have the biggest team in the world. I want to have 30 really, really high level exercise physiologists. I want clients to know what when they come to Reform Fitness, they're working with a really experienced individual, someone who not only has a 4 year degree in exercise science or equivalent field, but also has the highest level of certifications when it comes to training, someone who's really passionate about the work they do, and someone who's been in the industry for a few years. They're not just first year, they've never worked with clients. They have several client facing hours under their belt. So we want a team of 30 badass exercise physiologists and really be a good tight knit team where we're truly a team that everyone's adding value to each other. You have 29 other exercise physiologists that you work for. Hopefully you're learning a thing or two every single week from the people that you're working with, whether that's learning how to serve clients better or learning how to get more clients.
Yeah, I love that. So talk to me a little bit more about the specifics because you mentioned the 30 exercise physiologists. What is that process like? We call it a VTO, right? So the vision traction organizer. How do you go about that? Maybe again, for people who are thinking of starting something or they've had this idea of like, how do I even create a vision for the future? Can you talk to me a little bit about that process and maybe break it down backwards, like going 10 year, 5 year, 3 year, 1 year, and then like going a little bit more into the rocks process and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, to be honest, it's a hard thing to think through. You have to know what you want. That's like the first thing. Like, what do I actually want? Like, when I put this vision together, and you said like the tool I use is a vision traction organizer. You guys can Google that if you're listening to this and you want one yourself. It's just a standard template that you can organize your vision on. But you always start with the 10 year, like the where do I want to go? And so if, for me, if it was in 10 years, I want to still just, I don't want to have a team. I just want it to be me, but I want to have, 150,000 in revenue, and I want to have 100,000 of that be profit. And that's what I'm going to pay myself. And that's the direction I'm going. That's where I want to go. The things I would do would be very different than what my actual vision was. Is in 10 years, it would be so cool if I had a team of people like me who were aligned with the way I want to work and the lifestyle I want to have in my work, and were aligned with the type of work I do. And if I could just create a platform that was attractive enough for all of them to want to be there, then I can have that. So that was, you start there. You start with, where do I want to even be in the end goal? If you're going out to start a business or a new endeavor, wherever it is, start with the 10-year. And then you start to say, okay, in order for me to hit this 10-year goal, I need to think about, where would I need to be 3 years from now? And the key when you're doing this is to not think about how. How am I going to get to 30 exercise physiologists? I had no idea. I had no idea how. I was just like, that's where I want to go. That's every day the direction I want to be going, right? So you have to not worry about the how. Okay, so we have the 10-year where I want to be. Now, in 3 years, if I'm going to be on track for that, where do I want to be? And that's not 30% of the way there, because growth is exponential, right? Like, it's compounding typically. So
Yeah. So
you
it
have to
doesn't have
think
to be
of,
10 exercise physiologists in 3 years.
exactly, just not 10. It's on track to have things in
Be
place.
20 and 9 years, and then you add the last 10. Yeah, just so
Yeah,
people
you
have
you
kind
might
of a
have
frame of
one year
reference
you
here.
add 20. Exactly, you're
Yeah.
right. So it's all right. If I'm serious about this, where do I need to be in 3 years actually? Okay, got that down. And the 3 year gets a little bit more specific. You start to talk about, like, what are some of the processes that would need to be in place? What is the job going to look and feel like? How long is the onboarding going to be? Things like that. Like, you start to get a little bit more specific, not too much, maybe 15 to 20 things of what it looks like. And then you can really create a good, all right, 1 year from now, where do I need to be on track for that 3 year vision, that 3 year picture that I just laid out? Once you got the 1 year goals, you can break it down into, for my first year, I actually went monthly, not quarterly. A lot of times now we go quarterly, but for my first year, I was like, okay, what is what does 1 month look like to be a win? And then I was like, okay, if I could get $5,000, I think it was actually my first ever rock was $3,000 reoccurring revenue. Maybe it was 4,000, $1,000 a week. Um, if I could do that in 1 month, that would be a good place, reoccurring. Okay, great. I got that. Now my next month, and my next month. And I just set up for, okay, a year from now, I want to be at 40,000 after my first year, or 30,000. What do I need to do the rest of the year to get there? And so you just start breaking up into smaller chunks. And that's when you say, okay, now I need to know the how for my quarterly goal. Like, how am I going to do that? You need to have that clearly laid out.
Okay. As far as Reform Fitness goes, why do you think people should be interested? If there are other people who maybe are not the entrepreneurial side, but are maybe interested in changing companies, or they're just starting out, or they have a little experience, what do you think makes Reform Fitness the best company to work for personal trainers and health coaches?
I think it's two
And
things.
then, sorry,
Yep.
and then what kind of people are you looking for?
Yeah. Great. I think it's two things that make us a really attractive place to work for. Number one, you're an independent contractor, so you got all the freedom to do the work that you love with the people that you love, without having, the quote unquote manager managing your time, or managing your life, or even to an extent managing your compensation, right? You set your own prices. And so in that aspect, there's a lot of freedom that comes with working at Reform Fitness. In the same token, we want to provide as much mentorship as possible to anyone who works with us. So while you do have a lot of freedom to take action and kind of build out your work life the way that you want it to be, you still have a ton of guidance from people who've been in the industry for over 10 years, who have built a large book of clients really successfully. And so you get that mentorship, you get that team. You also get that brand awareness of being able to use the Reform Fitness platform, be able to use the Reform Fitness brand to help elevate you, and elevate you in the client's mind or the consumer's mind. So again, you get a lot of independence with some good structure and some great mentorship. So I think that's what makes it a really attractive place to work for. And the type of people that we're looking for is someone who is really passionate about helping people get healthier. And that can come from doing health coaching, from doing personal training services, from doing a combination of the two. But if you like personalized, evidence based health and fitness, then that's the person that we're really looking for. Someone who's servant hearted, of course, looking to serve their clients and put their clients first and just help their clients be a healthier human.
Yeah, and I think that's something I can obviously speak to being here from the sort of the beginning of the expansion is, I think anybody who's in this business, it's at one point or another, and we've had these conversations too, like personally in our check-ins and stuff, is like, you see somebody else doing it. It's like, I've got all these skills. I should just go out and do my own thing. Like if I can do this for Zabe, or if I can do this for the company we worked for before, why don't I do it on my own? And I think the most appealing thing to me about being with Reform Fitness, and for anybody else that's maybe interested in doing their own thing and kind of having to feel like you have to choose one or the other, is this really is the best of both worlds. Because it's like you have the independence as a 1099 contractor. We obviously all have experience with like getting screwed over in corporate work before, so it's like we made it very clear, like internally and just like as a team, like we don't want to feel that as well. And then also you have the benefit of having a team though. So if you do want to take vacation, like I think that's the toughest thing for an entrepreneur is like, yes, I want to build my business, but especially if you're client facing like we are, where I think you can charge a premium for your services versus just like normal online personal training. It's like if you want to go somewhere, your clients are kind of missing that week or they're missing the 2 weeks. Here, it's like I can pass people off. Everybody knows the other trainers. They feel comfortable working with them. More importantly, I feel comfortable passing off my clients. One, because I know nobody's going to try to steal them. And two, because it's like I know they're going to get a great experience. Like they still prefer to work with me. But if I hand them off to you, I hand them off to Amy, Jake, anybody that's on the team, Blake, it's like they're going to get a fantastic workout. So to be able to have both of those things together, I think is extremely rare, if not even possible. I don't know if we're the only company that does that. I'm sure there's other ones, but it's very rare to find that in the personal training
Yeah.
space for
I
sure.
think I think in a nutshell, like I've been an exercise physiologist on the front lines for 10 years. And so as the leader of the company, I want this to be attractive for that person, for me, for like what I want in a company. And like you said, we've felt the corporate aspect of fitness in a lot of different ways. And we're trying to be that perfect in middle point between completely on your own and just sink or swim and having a little bit of structure to make sure that you can't fail.
Yeah, I think that's great. What are you, as we kind of wrap this up, because I got to run here in just a second, what are you most excited for the rest of 2026? Maybe it's goal wise, things you're trying to hit, or just in general, company wise. Tell me a little bit about that.
Two things. We got a couple new teammates coming in this year, so I'm always excited to expand the team, get some new exercise physiologist. I love being able to provide that platform, like I said, but also means more clients get to experience an evidence based health and fitness journey. So, love that. That's number one thing I'm looking forward to. Number two, we're going all in on expanding our health coaching side of the business. So, we've changed a little bit about the business model side of that, and we've changed a little bit about how we're going out through the sales process of that. And that's been a really fun change. It's been fun bringing that to life each week, getting better and better at that. But I'm excited to see where we are between January with health coaching and where we are in December, both on internally how we are as exercise physiologists bringing that to life for our clients, but also just revenue wise and numbers wise, how the service evolves over the course of the next year as well.
So last thing for maybe potential clients that are interested with working with you or potential trainers that are out there like, man, I just don't like this grind anymore. This sounds awesome. What are the best ways to get in touch with you, I guess, for each of those people?
My contact information is right on our website, reformed-fitness.com, reformed-fitness.com. My phone number, my personal phone number, and my email is on there. It's 507-990-7928. You can text that number or call it. or my email address, Xavier at reformed-fitness.com. It's just my first name at reformedfitness.com. Those are the two best ways. Also, just connect with me on LinkedIn too. I'm really active on the LinkedIn. If you just want to be a part of the network and you don't want to reach out, but you just want to follow along, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And for anybody that's just looking to follow along, definitely check out the Reform Fitness Instagram as well. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time today, man. I think there's a lot of cool, inspiring information for future entrepreneurs out there, and then hopefully some prospective clients that want to work with myself, Xavier, any of the other members on our team. So this was great, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another new episode. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.